Hey guys, regularly there are examples that come up of people expecting things from either me or our channel or other people, other users, YouTube users or outside YouTube, just in the world, constant examples of people wanting things from other people. And it's sort of understandable. The idea of this video is hopefully there might be a small number of people out there who might benefit from this. Maybe some younger people who are open to new ideas or new ways of looking at things. I think there's a really common thing, a phenomenon, more so recently than in the past, and people talk about the entitled people these days feeling entitled. And I take that as meaning, or that for me that example is that the people that are wanting other people to do things for them all the time, or wanting everything to be handed to them. And just as someone who's seen some really successful people, you know, in my life I've known some really successful people, not necessarily money, but some people have got a lot of money that I know. I know some people with a lot of money, but more so successful in that they've achieved what they wanted to achieve. So I've got one friend who's respected as being one of the best pilots in Australia and one of the best flying instructors in Australia, and he's an amazing guy. And I know another guy who's an amazing musician and really well respected in Europe and in Australia for being a very good musician. And you know, I know another guy I went to school with who's now a US ambassador, you know, in a European country, so an ambassador of the United States. So I know some fairly successful people, and it really jumps out sometimes. I'll give you a couple of examples that have triggered this. Is that we get it all the time on YouTube. People will ask a question in the comment section. They'll say, this is off topic, but you know, I want to be an anime artist in Japan. How can I go about doing that? Or sometimes someone will send a question via the YouTube comment. Well, they used to. I don't know if they still can now, but they used to send a comment via the YouTube email thing. You know, send us an email, and sometimes really long page load. Look, I know you're busy, but. And then a big page load of story about what they want to do in Japan, their fantasies to live in Japan, and they've always wanted to live in Japan. And then, you know, 500 questions. You know, how can I do it? How can I get a job? Where can I get somewhere to live? What can I do here? What can I, you know, and just all the questions. Also, occasionally we get someone, and recently we had this too, where someone says, you know, how do I get a job? How do I do this? And we'll leave a reply and say, we made a video about that. It's on the how-to playlist, and it's the video about jobs and visas. And they came back with, I don't have time to look at that. And we've had that before. I don't have time to look at that. Just answer my question. Or someone else had a lot of questions, and our response to them was, just search it on our channel. All those questions you've asked have been already covered in videos, you know. And I couldn't be bothered doing that. Just answer my questions. Now, first of all, just practically, you know, a 5-minute video contains thousands and thousands of words and also images. So that's a lot of information, and that's a lot more information than we can give them in a couple of sentences in a comment section or a couple of sentences in an email. So from their own point of view, they're better off looking at the video because they'll get more information. But secondly, rude assholes. You know? Secondly, to demand that we give them this information. And this happens regularly. I'm not just talking about once. We've had this regularly. People demand information from us, demand that we answer their questions, and demand that we help them solve their problems. And it's a really common thing. It's a really common thing. And then in other ways too, we get them too, where people will say, you know, say something really rude and offensive. This happens regularly. Someone will say something really offensive. Most recently was this week, some guy saying I shouldn't make videos bitching about Google, you know. And then when I answered him, he comes back with, I've been a subscriber for a long time and I've watched your videos and I've defended you before and all this sort of bullshit. And we've had that before as well, where people people think that because they've been a subscriber for 3 years, we owe them, you know. And although we appreciate our subscribers, you guys don't owe us anything, you know what I mean? And we don't owe you anything. It's a mutual thing, isn't it? We make videos and you choose to either watch them or don't watch them. Now that doesn't mean, if you watch our videos, that doesn't mean that we owe you, and it doesn't mean that you owe us, does it? You know, you don't owe us anything. You don't need to pay us money to watch our videos, and we don't need to do anything except make our videos. It's a free choice thing, and this is what life is like. And the reason, what I'm getting at with this is that I've noticed in life that the people that I know that have achieved what they wanted to achieve have done it for themselves. You know, now there's nothing wrong with asking people for information. There's nothing wrong with asking people for help. But you can't expect people to hand you everything on a plate, you know? And quite often, some of these people that ask questions on the Japan channel about Japan, I just know, when I read the question, I just know that person will never make it to Japan. They'll never make it. Because it requires quite a bit, you know? It requires money, it requires motivation, it requires some work because you're going to have to get your head around the language. You know, when you get here, you're going to have to sort a whole heap of stuff out. You know, unless you bring your mummy or daddy with you, or unless you bring someone with you who's going to do it all for you, you're going to have to do it all for yourself. So, you know, someone that couldn't be bothered watching a couple of videos to get the information they want, or someone that can't be bothered searching on a channel to get the information that they want, or, you know, same goes with our website forum. We've got a website forum, it's the same, and on there we've talked about visas, and all the people on there have discussed all sorts of things, you know. There's lots of useful information on our website forum, and frequently people just start a new thread and ask questions, and, you know, one of the moderators on the forum will come on and say, we've already covered all that, you know, in a few threads. It's already been covered. Oh, but I couldn't be bothered reading it. Now, a person that couldn't be bothered reading through a few threads in a forum to get the information they need, they're not going to get all the way to Japan. You know, they're not going to, you know, you just can't, and not just coming to Japan, but achieving anything in your life. You know, often get people say to me, first about Japan, oh, you're so lucky to live in Japan, you're so lucky, I wish I could live in Japan, you're so lucky. And I'd suggest that luck had nothing to do with it. The reason that I live in Japan is because I worked my ass off for a lot of years to get the financial backing, and then I went really hard to get through all the visa nonsense and everything else, and then, you know, jumped over the language hurdles and all the other stuff that you have to go through to live in Japan to get to live here. There was no luck involved. There was no roulette wheel. There was no lottery win. There was no luck. You know, I would say a rich uncle that hands you $100,000 and says, "Here, go live in Japan." That would be luck, you know. But there was none of that. And it's the same as all the other things. You know, same with aeroplanes. People often say, "Oh, I'd love to have a pilot license. I wish I could fly aeroplanes. That'd be great. You're so lucky." No, not at all. It took a lot of hard work to get the money together to be able to go and do flying lessons, and then it took, you know, a lot of hard work and study to get through all the tests and a lot of hurdles to cross. And my point is that what I'm hoping that this video will do is that there'll be a couple of people listening, probably younger people, maybe older people, I don't care, as long as a couple of people out there that this might just ring a bell with them, and you can see this, test this out for yourself. Look at the people that you know in your life that are successful, whatever that means. Maybe they've got no money at all, but maybe in their life they've done what they wanted to do, you know. Look at the people in your life that have done what they wanted to do and achieved what they wanted to achieve. Or look at the people in your life that are happy. Look at the people in your life that, and whatever it is, whether it's relationships, this goes for relationships as well. You know, I know people that are surrounded by friends, good friends, and they're usually people that make an effort. They're usually people that make an effort and do things for their friends and go out of their way to spend time with their friends. They're not people that sit around and expect their friends to do things for them, because the people that do that often run out of friends really quickly. So, you know, this has just come to mind recently. There's some people that just will never get this, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, we see them examples of that every day. People expect everything to be handed to them, but the people that I've seen like that, are usually don't go anywhere. You know, I knew a number of people like that in Australia, and it's interesting, and I know people like that here, but it's interesting watching the difference. You know, that's one thing about being old, is it gives you perspective because you see these things, you know. You know, I've had 100 years to watch people. You know, I've watched people from school, you know, some people that had everything. Some people, everybody was basically the same at school, you know. We all really had the same sort of, in our group of people, we all basically had the same start at life. And some people have ended up ambassadors and famous pilots and famous musicians, and some people just ended up losers living in one-bedroom flats, depressed and unhappy with their lives. And the difference is what people have done. Decisions that people have made and what people have done. I would suggest that luck, very rarely, you know, if someone suddenly gets a terminal disease or something, then yeah, okay, you can say that's bad luck. Or, you know, driving along gets hit by a truck or something, well, that's bad luck. But most of the examples that I'm thinking of, and I'm sure most of the examples that you can think of, is the difference is just the decision making and the attitude. You know, the people that sit around and expect everything to be done for them and handed to them don't go anywhere. You know, I know some really intelligent people who had everything going for them and they've just gone nowhere. And they're the sort of people that sit around and say, I've always wanted to whatever. I've always wanted, and this is sad when people are old. It's sad when people are young and do this too, but it's really sad when people are old and sit around and say, I've always wanted to fly an aeroplane. I've always wanted to go to Japan. I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted, well, if you really want to do it, do it. And make the effort. Do whatever's required to do it. Get off your ass and go and do it. You know? Make the effort. What are the steps? You know, and it doesn't matter how big a thing it is. Something like flying an aeroplane, it's only little steps. It's not like suddenly you have to fly the aeroplane. It doesn't work like that. The first step's going to be finding a flying school. You know, the second step's going to be doing your first flight. It really is. Going from being someone who's never flown an aeroplane to someone who's got a commercial pilot license with, you know, aerobatic endorsements. It's only one little step at a time that gets you in that position. You know, you just make one decision, make one little step, one decision, one little step. You know, it's not a big thing. It's just one step at a time, and then suddenly you're there. And the same goes for living in Japan, and the same goes for everything else. It's just one little step at a time. But you've got to make those steps, and you've got to keep making them. You know, to sit around expecting that other people are going to hand you, you know, a good life, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And even if it does, there's a few people in the world that do have a good piece of luck happen and do have something handed to them, and quite often that ends sadly too. You know, and how many stories do we know like that? That somebody that's suddenly become famous, or the Gold Lotto win's a good example. That happens all the time, doesn't it? Someone wins Lotto. How lucky he's won $2 million on Lotto, and because it's been handed to him and he's made no effort, he starts, you know, slamming down cocaine or something, and then suddenly he ends up with all the money gone and really, really sick. And, you know, his life just ruins his life. Because, and again, the luck doesn't really play a part in it. It's what people do. You know, it's what people do. And if you don't make the effort, to do anything, you're just not going to go anywhere. You know, and I'm not talking about money, and people don't have to go and live in another country. I think wherever you're happy, you know, I know people that only moved, like, you know, around the corner from their family home and still live around the corner from their family home, and they're happy, and that's fine. You know, we don't have to move to another country to be happy. Not everybody does. You know, we don't have to fly airplanes. It doesn't have to be big stuff like that. I'm just talking about life in general. Whatever it is from life that you want, whatever it is that you want to do, you know, we have to do it. We can't be expecting other people to hand it to us. You know, and it just seems that there's so many people that just seem to expect everything to be handed to them. You know, give me a step-by-step set of instructions on how I can live in Japan. Well, no, we've got 1,500 videos. You know, watch some of those. Watch the how-to playlist. You know, the information's there. And people don't need us to do stuff. You know, the information's there, particularly these days with the internet and Google. If you can watch YouTube, If you can watch YouTube, then you can search Google and get the information that you want on whatever topic that you want. You know, and listen. I think listening and learning and watching, being observant of what other people do and how they do it, that's the way to do it. You know, if you want to be a famous musician, look at how the person that is a famous musician has lived and what they've done to get there, and then you can do it too. Or famous musician's probably a bad example, but you know, whatever it is, someone owns a house and you want to own a house, well, you know, go to work. Because it's just, you know, there's the people that do stuff, and there's the people. It's amazing watching those front page YouTubers, you know, and they're just going about their normal, boring lives. But to some people, those lives seem really exciting, because to some people, they're just spending their lives in their bedrooms watching YouTube. You know, and watching YouTube's great. I watch YouTube. You know, we spend hours a day on YouTube, but I also watch documentaries and watch other stuff on YouTube. You know, that's fine, but you can't spend day after day, you know, inside on YouTube or having an easy life and expect good things to happen for you. It doesn't work like that. We've got to pay a price. There has to be a price paid for whatever we want, and we've got to be prepared to pay it. And we can't expect someone else to pay it for us, because they won't. You know, I think sometimes with young people, the worst thing that can happen to you is if you've got parents that spoil you and do everything for you. Because some people seem to live like that when they're kids, and then they never get used to that changing, and they always expect other people to do things for them, you know. Whatever it is that's good in life, and I know a lot of you guys are going, oh yeah, old people always say that shit. Well, quite often old people say shit because they find it to be true. And you guys can think of examples of this yourself, you know. Anybody that wants anything worthwhile in their life has to pay a price. You know, you've either got to work hard, or you've got to do something to get whatever good thing you want in your life, and expecting someone else to pay the price for you, it doesn't work. It does not work. It's okay to ask people to help. And there's another difference too. If someone asks for help, but they're reasonable, someone comes and says, I want to know the answer to this question, and say, it's on the playlist, go and have a look at the video, and they go and have a look at the video, and then they pop up again later on and ask another question that we haven't covered, and it's like I recognise that name, that username. No, that's right, we haven't covered that yet, and we might even make another video to cover another topic for that person. But one of these people that expects it to be handed to them, and this is what you'll find, if you go and expect everybody, or expect people to do things for you all the time, and expect people to do, you know, pay the price for you, is sooner or later they'll just stop. They won't help you. You get more help from people. If you're helping yourself, it's more likely someone else will step up and help you. You know, I've got a million examples of that. When I had my business and I was working 7 days a week and really working my tail off, you know, and at one stage I got into real deep trouble there, with financial trouble, and this guy that I knew just stepped up and said, do you want 50 grand? Do you want $50,000? I'll lend you $50,000, here you go. And I didn't ask him for it, he just stepped up, because he could see that I was paying the price. And this is the other thing, people aren't going to step up and help you if you're not making the effort yourself. You've got to be making the effort yourself. You can't rely on anybody else. You won't get there if you rely on other people. You have to assume that nobody is going to help you. If you want something in life, you've got to be prepared just to do whatever it takes to get it, honestly, with hard work. You know, people that cut corners and try and get other people to do it for them, or try to steal from other people, or, you know, try and find the easy way. There's always people looking for the easy con job, or the easy, you know, oh, easy money, this is easy. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. That's all bullshit. You know, the easy money, the fast buck, the, you know, nah. Or relying on good luck, you know, buying lottery tickets and all that, hoping that it'll come true. It's not going to fucking happen. It's not going to happen. You know, the only way is to pay the price. If you're only prepared to pay a small price, you'll only get small benefits. If you want big, good stuff to happen in your life, you've got to be prepared to pay a big price for it. And that might involve working really hard, or studying really hard, or doing something really hard, and quite often stuff you don't want to do. You know, you might not want to get up at 7 in the morning and go to work, but you might have to. You've got to be prepared to pay the price. And if you're not, that's fine, but don't complain when you're still living at home at your parents' place and you've got no money and you haven't done all the things that you want to do. Don't sit around saying, I've always wanted to go to Japan, I've always wanted to fly an aeroplane, you're lucky, because, you know, no, it's not true. It's that the other people that are doing that stuff paid the price, you weren't prepared to, and that's why you haven't managed to do it. you know, generally speaking. So people make excuses. Videos like this attract excuses. There's always people that come back in the comment section, yeah, but some people are unlucky and can't work because they've got asthma, or someone's got... There's always people that come up with excuses for this shit, and you can make excuses all you want and you'll end up having a loser's life. You know, you'll end up sitting around resenting everybody that's they're luckier than you because they're doing all the good stuff. No. It's because they were out paying the price while you're sitting at home making excuses. It's harsh, but it's true. Anyway, I've got to pay the price now. Time for me to pay the price. More videos coming soon.